Hey everyone, Jeremy here. Today, we're going to be sitting down with the developers of Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo to learn about some of the behind the scenes of the game, their inspirations for the game, and future plans for the game. Today, we are sitting down with Paulo Lara and Pavel Lara, the developers of the game.
Oh, yeah. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
And I'd like to start off by asking about the creation of Gala Games itself. How did you decide that you wanted to create video games?
Oh, well, that's a funny question because it all comes down of both our affinity for video games and the fact that we both had talents that covered a lot of the basic needs of video game development. Me being an artist with a strong affinity to character design and storytelling in general, and Pavel having
And knack for programming,
knack
yes.
for
Yeah.
programming. Yeah, I guess so. Uh, came to the realization that we could take advantage of those two qualities and use it to create things that we were happy with and we wanted to do, so we decided to give it a try, video game development.
Yeah, Kulebra is actually our second, well, actually like completed project. We started with a mobile game because when we started, this was like all the way in 2017. I still was in high school, so I wasn't like really too familiar with programming. I only knew a little bit of Game Maker, but I was experimenting with fan games of Zelda, like in my own time. From there, I decided like, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's see how we do. We started with a small mobile game project, and after we did that, we did the jump to what now is Culebra. So yeah, very happy with a long journey. We're very happy how it's turned out.
I personally already had a background in illustration and digital art, so it's yeah, to me it was pretty straightforward in that sense.
Yeah, that I remember seeing like just like the long development time of Killer, and I was like, wow, this game's been around a while. um, yeah, the mobile game that was a shock to me. That was that was a very interesting thing to learn about. So
Actually,
moving on to the next question. What actually inspired you to make Kulabor specifically? I know that you mentioned, like on the Kickstarter, that games like Majora's Mask and Paper Mario were big inspirations for the game. But was there any other media or anything else that inspired you with the game, the art, the actual game design, any of that?
well, I could say that at least personally, on my philosophy, I wanted to create something. Oh, sorry, there's someone with a bike passing through there. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. Uh, it's just the
What did
background
that
noise.
post?
Sounds good. Then going back to the question, my personal philosophy within, at least regarding the work that we do, is that I wanted to create something that would be a positive influence for in the same way that these video games were a positive influence for me when I was a kid. And personally speaking, I think that video games open this opportunity for teaching you lessons while you're having fun, and in a way reshape your character as a to become better as a whole, and to have a clear goal of both proactivity and goodwill towards things. And I wanted to transmit that same sensation through video games, which I think have a unique power in the art medium that usually I don't see in art in general.
In design wise, when I was handling like the challenges of Culebra, I got a lot of inspirations from like basically a ton of the games that I played. Like we highlighted Majora's Mask, like you mentioned, and Paper Mario, but the game has a lot of elements from other games such as Ace Attorney that
Mm,
inspired the combat for combat
that's
with
interesting.
the yeah, I kind of figure like, oh well, we don't want Culebra to actually be punching other people, but I wanted to add the tension. So I remember that I really liked that game because they managed to put tension, but it was like a puzzle where you have to figure out what was the right evidence to show. So I took that piece and applied it into the game, and it's mostly like figuring out what problem or what we want to do in the game, or what problem we want to have solved. And I usually look at other games that I played and just see what I liked about them and try to somehow make that fit into what we were doing.
Hearing the Ace Attorney inspiration, that's very interesting. I didn't actually pick up on that. Someone who's played a few Ace Attorney games. That is very interesting. Though I do actually kind of see it a little bit, yeah.
There's also a bit of that.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no. Are we good? I think we're good.
Are we good?
I think we're good now. We're good. Y'all froze for a second.
Did we make it to the Professor Layton part, or did we cut off before that?
You cut off before that.
Okay, yeah. I guess just to mention like a little reference, Professor Layton with the hint coins that you will like click on certain things in the background to try to get a coin that inspired the pearls. So just like another example, just like, oh yeah, this is a neat little thing that I can put in here in the game.
That's interesting. Yeah. Another question I have about sort of the game's style and inspiration. I noticed while I was playing it, I don't know if this is fully intentional, a lot of like inspiration, or at least a lot of similarities to like Day of the Dead culture, specifically with there being a skeleton snake as your playable character. How did your background or upbringing influence parts of the game, whether it be the art style or even just, Limbo itself?
Yes. Actually, let's see, I would say that there's a lot of influence of the like Dominican landscape when it comes to Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo. In many ways, it's very subtle, but for example, Plaza, the main area of the game, is heavily influenced on the place that I study, which is called Altos de Chabón. It has this colonial sort of tropical look to it, and I took a lot of that when it comes to designing that area in many ways. As for the art style, there's a lot of influence on the Day of the Dead, as you just mentioned, but also comes with a mix of Dominican culture in many elements. Like you can see that the mask that the main evil guy, Risa in this case, or well, trying to keep it spoiler free, he has it's a heavy Dominican influence when it comes to the carnival. One of the characters from the Dominican Carnival.
That's very interesting. I can kind of see a lot of like sort of like all these inspirations kind of come together, and that's kind of what made the game unique when I played it, was like having like all these different things kind of coming together in this very particular way. It was a very unique part of the game for sure. Kind of moving on a little bit to like some of the writing. So I know, Paulo, that was kind of more your wheelhouse. What was the writing process for the game like? How'd you come up with the story? And were there any challenges like coming up with the plot and like the characters and all that?
Yes, I would definitely say that. And I think a good analogy to express the sort of development that we go through when it comes to story is that there's sort of a tennis game in which we pitch an idea or a character, and then we put it on test against the gameplay. And so there's this cyclical feedback loop in which we compare things like gameplay versus story and how the things match and don't match. And with that in mind, we try to make the things have a sense of Cohesion. Thank you. Yes, a sense of cohesion. That would help us to make sense of the things as a whole. I think the biggest challenge when it comes to that is matching the gameplay with the story, because usually with gameplay come a lot of limitations or with the things that you can do, and it is that game of balancing things to keep it consistent and at the same time not go too crazy.
Yeah, I think you guys did a good job of avoiding what's kind of known as like cognitive narrative dissonance, which is kind of a problem that some games fall into, where the actions that you're doing in gameplay don't really match what's going on in the story, and I think that this game does kind of avoid that. Overall, I didn't really notice any problems between that.
It's always a challenge. It's always a challenge, but definitely something that we try to avoid as much as we can.
Definitely, I will say like the lack of combat that goes a long way to helping like deal with that issue that a lot of games have to come up with, because having to come up with an I guess reason to actually like engage into that kind of into combat or fighting another person can be like very difficult to fit into the story while making sense. But with Kulebra, because of the nature of just more being like a conversation or a discussion, I think it's a lot easier to fit into the story. So that limitation, well, I guess we can call it a limitation. That design decision did go a long way.
It's very a good philosophy, I think, for sure. And I think you guys hit it out of the park with that, like, most definitely. Let's see. Kind of moving on to like some of like the characters and stuff. What was the process for creating each character's design like? How difficult was it, like, coming up with unique designs for different characters? And on top of that, what was the process like for actually creating Limbo? I know you went into like some of how the Dominican Republic kind of influenced that. Was there anything else that influenced how you built the world of Limbo?
Yes, I would say that for characters, it comes back to the same idea of this cyclical process. Same with story, that I would, for example, create the design of the character with certain elements of their story, and we would put it on test against the gameplay, and then we would see the limitations that come with gameplay and puzzle, and retroactively, oh well, and at the same time fit the design of the character to match the needs that we have. And there's this organic play on the puzzle versus the character that ultimately shape them into making sense as a whole. That for the characters. And for the world of Limbo, that one was a very organic process, I can say. Yeah, that might be the word of this conversation a lot, or at least for the development of Kulebra, organic, because originally the world of Limbo comes from the mobile game, which was our first game that we made in 2015. In the end, we decided to make a game that was totally different from that, but we wanted to keep the characters of the mobile game, since we pretty much had a lot of appreciation for them. Kulebra as a character is something very charming for me, and as the development of him as a character was pretty organic, I wanted to keep that charm into the next game. So we rescued the elements of Limbo, and we created the time loop curse and other things to implement it and make sense around the gameplay. So yeah, that's pretty much how it was shaped into the game that we know now. But the world of Limbo has even a bit more of a backstory that comes from a software limitation. Funny enough. Kulebra originally was meant to be endless runner, in which you would be zigzagging, avoiding obstacles, and going as far as you can to get a high score, pretty much the highest score that you could get. With that came the limitation that we needed a snake as the main character. Well, not a limitation, the idea that a snake would fit better as the main character for that type of gameplay. But we had the limitation that we couldn't make a fluent tail that it would be as a single element behind it. So we decided to chop that tail into small little pieces, so it would be easier to produce software-wise. And with that limitation, we needed to justify what would the tail be cut into pieces. So the skeletal snake fit the idea. And to justify the skeletal snake, we created the whole theme of Limbo and the undead, or dead. Yeah, the dead, they're not undead, yes. And yeah, that's how the whole story started, pretty much.
Very humble beginnings for this little snake. I just imagine like putting Kulebra in that original high score game, just seeing that, just him. Just...
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty much it. Yeah.
yeah. I spent a long time like well, not that long. It did spend a good while trying to get the tail to work, but
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't going anywhere. And funny enough, I think to this day I still don't know how I will go about it. So I don't. That's a problem I still haven't found a solution for.
That's your great treasure. The day you become a master programmer is the day you can figure out how to work that tail.
Hopefully, I'll do it before the end.
uh, all right. Oh, going into talking about Kulebra himself, why'd you end up making the protagonist a snake or Kulebra a snake? Was there a symbolic reason for it? I know there's a little bit of symbolism with the different animals in the game, the frog, the bird, and all that. But was there a specific reason that the protagonist was made a snake?
It actually comes down to the same element in which we wanted to rescue the characters of our first game because I really liked them. We really enjoyed their look as a whole, and I think Kulebra was a very charming character that
Yeah.
represented a lot of positivity in many sense, and we wanted to further express that into the game. So it was also part of that whole organic process, but I think in the end something very beautiful came out of it and
Mhm.
unique in many ways.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we jump into like, oh, let's reuse Kulebra, but we don't know exactly where that will lead. Like we have an idea, but we do a lot of like figuring out as we go. Yeah,
Mm.
I think it typically it gives a lot better results. I guess for the lack of a better word, more organic results.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
natural.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel going kind of like flying by the seat of your pants. Because that's basically my writing style. So I feel you.
Didn't know that was the what was the phrase? See by the pants.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a phrase
never
I
heard
use at least for it. That's what I've always said. Does it make sense?
that. I
I
like.
don't know. I didn't get a degree. What are you talking about? um. Okay, so this one might be a bit of a loaded question, and I know this is more geared towards Pavel. Pavel, I told you.
Oh no, no worries.
No, no,
We
no.
we we don't mind the different pronunciations. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I,
Um. So, kind of going into sort of the development. How did you go about developing the gameplay? I know you kind of gave us sort of the history and some of like the inspirations, but how did you kind of put that all together? It's got a the game has a very unique style of gameplay, as we've kind of talked about a little bit already. Um, very much focused around rolling around and clearing puzzles. How difficult was it to actually come up with the gameplay and the puzzles and all that?
uh, I definitely took a while to land the elements with the project. After we decided to go from the mobile game to like actually making the Kulebra we know now, we knew that we wanted to make a game about helping souls and like being in limbo. Another point of reference we had was to take Zelda Majora's Mask that had a huge emphasis on learning about characters and their schedule and then helping their problems with that information. We kind of wanted to take that and turn it into a whole game about that. So that was my starting point. So we knew that the game would be about like talking with other characters, getting items, and then getting clues to solve them. The notebook was a good addition, and that was a very good head start for the idea. From there it was a lot of like experimenting. Like we started with the first chapter with Flora.
Mm-hmm.
We had like the small like the small area in that valley where they are, like that little circle with the store. That was like the first environment we started with, and we started like putting up plants, and you have to buy them. And then we started like, oh yeah, you need to collect pearls, and we added a schedule. And it was just a lot of experimentation. When we landed as the workflow, like to get the story and gameplay working together, is that Paulo will come. I think we mentioned that a little ago. Paulo will come up with the plot and the characters that will be part of the story. Then I will try to figure out, oh, okay, with these tools, what can I make for a puzzle? Like, for example, oh, do you have to buy the pearls? How do you get the pearls? Maybe one of the plants is actually like locked somewhere. and it was a lot of like coming up with problems that the player needs to solve, and then I will hand it over to Paulo. Paulo will see if that will fit the story, and it will be a constant back and forth.
Mhm.
A lot of the times, so a lot of the times when we start with a chapter, Paulo starts with a draft of what's going to happen, and it's just going from there. And we kind of bounce the idea back and forth until we have something that feels complete and playable. Yeah, fun.
Hmm. Sounds like a pretty well thought out process. Definitely, I think sharing the ideas definitely worked out in y'all's favor.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely a very comfortable way of working. In a way, we're spoiled since we pretty much have very similar tastes.
Hmm.
We work together very well, and in a lot of things, there's little to no clash in how things flow. So it comes down to a very smooth process and malleable, flexible process
Mm.
in which we can shape things into what feels natural to us with little to no clash.
My memory is a little fuzzy, but I think that's something we landed like naturally. It's not like something we thought out. It's just like as we kind of like work together, we kind of realized that's what we were doing. So we formalized it like, hey, this is working. Let's keep doing it
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah, I would try to make a story that would make sense within a video game environment,
Yeah.
given certain goals and things that seem reasonable. I wouldn't go with a story full Kojima from the start and see if Pablo
Yeah.
can figure it out on his
Yeah.
own. But I would try to make things fairly reasonable with clear goals, and we try to shape things, remove and add according to the necessities of each element of the game.
Awesome. 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 Next question I do have. Working with two people, how challenging was it to actually, develop the game with only you two really working at the helm?
Well, that's actually a sort of a double-edged sword because it came with a lot of conveniences. For
Mm-hmm.
example, the fact that the two of us, have this much synergy and it's a fairly small team, we didn't need to create like too many templates or be very strict of the things that would stick in the game and we have to remove, etc. With that came a lot of flexibility. There
Yeah.
is a lot of work to do,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also a lot of flexibility in what we can add, and we can change things on an instant, fairly quick, without much discussion or any ideas. I don't have to create a whole template of concept art just to explain my idea around, or etc. To a whole team of artists or programmers. It's pretty much just with a few sketches or basic writing, we can establish what's going to happen and super smoothly. So yeah, it is a lot of work, but it comes with a lot of flexibility and efficiency due to that.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other areas, we couldn't cover like audio, music, and as well like revising the script. Uh, we did have a help from well, I guess for the music we had help from Zach and Streetfield, and sound effects was Clayton Tap, and they were very helpful, and we, how will I say this? They were very competent in the way of like finding or continuing on their own. Like we needed help for something, and they will,
Proactivity
yeah,
wise, yeah,
productivity wise.
it's
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely they're also like they're also like a very important part of the project, and we
Yeah.
couldn't have done it without their help as well. So definitely we did get very lucky to have met them.
Mm. Yeah. Definitely seems like it really worked to y'all's benefit to have such a tight knit team there.
also very important for the team members to be self independent in the sense that you can produce work with much instruction, so it does not come down to a lot of micromanagement,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that is especially a good highlight of the two, and us too, that we can produce a lot of work without the necessity of having to exchange too much or wait too much for the work of the other in order to proceed. That also comes with a lot of good results or fast results.
Definitely sounds like a pretty thought out plan, I think. even if not, ideal in some ways, not ideal in other ways. Definitely, I think it definitely worked in your favor. Now, kind of going into more future plans for the game, you've got an update plan for this year coming later at some point. And I know you've also already started work on the DLC for the game, but do you have any other potential plans for the game after that? Maybe a sequel?
We would, right out of the gate, we would love to do a sequel. That's something that we would like to revisit the world of Limbo. As if it would be our next project, that would depend.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that we would love to tackle sooner or later.
Yeah. All right.
Anything to?
Oh no, you're good.
Oh no, yeah, we're focusing right now on finishing the DLC for this year, like you mentioned, and yeah, from there we move along to the next project. Where it might be.
Yeah. I think you need to focus on a very minor side character that I know everyone loves, The Rock from the beginning of the game. I think he needs this whole game.
A whole spin-off.
We need Rosa's whole origin story. That's what I'm thinking.
It is with the rock falling in this spot. That's where the game is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. I would like to thank you both once again for joining us and taking the time out of your very busy schedule, I imagine, to answer some of my questions. I do have one last question for you. Were there any questions that you can think of that you wanted me to ask you in this interview? And if there are, what's your answer to that?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I had to give you a thinker for the last one.
Let's see.
Or if there's just anything you want to talk about here, feel free.
Well, I guess I could also add that a good thing to, which in a way is part of one of the questions that you made us. I think I just forgot to include it, but part of the main philosophy of the game, going back to the whole idea, is that it's good to know that Kulebra is a game about empathy and the power of it, the power that comes with it, and that the game tries to teach you about the good that comes with these actions and the bad things that can happen. But nevertheless, it's always good to give it a try and to try our best to do the right thing. That's definitely the core message of the game. It's pretty much that. It's always good to share.
Yeah, definitely a good message. I think very one that we probably need nowadays.
You have anything?
Well, I guess a good thing is that a little detail is that when we started making this game, like we didn't know a lot of the things. We kind of went along with figuring out things on the way. So I guess if someone needs a motivation or a reason to like get started in their own project, where it might be a video game or another thing they want to do. Sometimes the best step is to get started, and from there you can figure out the rest.
Oh yeah. Don't worry if the game looks ugly at the start, or if you don't have any idea of what you're doing. That's part of the process. Figuring things out as you go in many ways is part of the evolution of the process, and it's only natural. Yeah.
The game was pretty ugly for 3 years.
Yeah.
I definitely sympathize with that advice because when I was writing my book, I don't know if you can see it, it's like right there. When I wrote my book, that's kind of what ended up happening. There was so many things that changed over time that it's kind of something you kind of do have to kind of go with the flow of it sometimes. Just like kind of let your mind sort of kind of just do it on the spot. That's kind of when some of your best ideas can come about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Things would be take shape or form with work, and as long as you put the effort there, things should shape into what you aspire to do.
I can definitely agree with that advice for sure. Well, I think that is everything for this interview. I would like to thank you both so much again for coming on and
Oh no,
answering my
man.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. It's been great. Yes.
Absolutely my pleasure. Once again, if you want to read our written interview, it's on our website. If you want to watch the video interview, it's on our YouTube channel. Remember to like and subscribe, maybe share, hit the notification bell. I can't remember everything you can do on YouTube. Post it to Facebook. I don't know. Do everything. And we hope that you will tune in for our next video. And with that, we'll sign off. Bye-bye.
Bye.